Planmeca are a very forward-thinking company when it comes to actually thinking about the business side of things and how do you leverage that and leverage the technology that you have to helping your business succeed. So I will pass over to James, and thank you very much for being here today.
Cheers, thank you. Appreciate it. So my first observation of listening to the other presentations today was how aligned, forgive the pun, that everybody seems to be with this. And I was thinking about how to approach this, because normally as a manufacturer that we don't sell direct, we sell through our distribution network. I was thinking about how to approach this on the basis of what matters and what difference have we seen within the industry for you guys. Okay, so it's a slightly different approach to my experiences of dealing with you guys, okay, and what matters from I think a product implementation standpoint. A little bit about me. I've worked in dental for 25 years. I know you can tell and I look like it, but my passion is about the technology and the implementation of products and about customer service that comes with that. I've worked for Planmeca for 10 years. Before that, I was a service and installations manager for another company that shall remain anonymous. But what attracted me to Planmeca is the way that the business is run. Okay, we are the largest privately owned dental manufacturer in the world. Okay, you'll be forgiven for not knowing that. That's all right. It's run by the Kirstler family, so Heikki is still at the helm, and we have a very flat management structure. Okay, so between me and the guy that runs the company, there are 4 other people. I say people, tiers of management, and the reason why I think that is important is it gives us an insight into the human and the person side of dentistry and the technology and how we implement this. Okay, so we've been around since 1971. Okay, the very nice looking Jackson Pollock or Andy Warhol on the side is actually Heikki's mum's curtains. So when he was starting ever thrifty, we developed from 1971 to present day, where we operate as a global product manufacturer with worldwide coverage for. That slide's actually out of date now, about 5,000 employees and a significant amount of turnover, okay? The reason why I think this is important is because we have experience in a lot of markets, okay? I've spoken to hundreds, if not thousands, of practice owners over the course of my career, and because it's a personal interest. Ultimately, you can't sell a product to somebody if you don't know what it's going to be used for and how it should be leveraged, okay? So within Planmeca, across the country and across the world, we've seen increased global turnover because of our dedication towards our group companies and our technology. So Planmeca, which you'll be aware of because I've just told you who we are, as part of the Planmeca group, though, we have a number of other companies. Cavo, you've probably heard of, we acquired 2 or 3 years ago. So Cavo is a Planmeca brand. We have a medical division where we do mobile extremity scanners, we do mammography, LM instruments. Again, some of these you may be aware of. HeySmile, our clear aligner company. Planmeca is much more than just one division, more than just one technology company. Even after saying this, I'm not here to sell you Planmeca, okay, as bizarre as this sounds. But what I want you to keep in mind is that everything that we're going to talk about relates to each one of these product categories. Okay, so Planmeca do digital CAD/CAM, we do dental units, we do CBCT, we do digital panoramic, 3D printer, etc., right? But it's not necessarily the products themselves that I want you to focus on. What I want you to remember is that everything we talk about applies across the board, okay? So being a technology nerd and growing up with IT, you know, I remember the heady days of Windows 3, yes, because again, I had a sad childhood, but I was always wanting to utilize technology, whether it was IT, whether it was something playing about with, whatever, to its fullest extent. But then I came across this quote from a guy called Cedric Price. I'm assuming nobody here has ever heard of him, but one of the most famous quotes that he had was, "Technology is the answer, but what was the question?" Okay. And essentially, in a nutshell, what that means is if technology doesn't provide us a benefit, if it's not a tangible benefit, then we probably shouldn't use it. You know, if you've got a system and a process that works already and it's working particularly well, if it doesn't offer us any technological advantage or any profitability or an improvement in the process, then we should probably stick with it, okay? So it's questioned about the implementation of technology, it's questioned about its benefits. So when we focus on that within building a squat practice, or indeed changing, I suppose, the way that we approach equipment purchases and leveraging technology, what's the big question? Okay, so make the questions bigger, not just for today, but for tomorrow. That's essentially what every presentation that you've had so far has said, okay? Don't just focus on the here and now, which is obviously important, but if you're building something, you're not just building it for tomorrow, you're not just building it for a year, you're building it for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, however long your career is going to extend to. And a part of that is going to be the equipment, it's going to be the building, it's going to be the service that you offer, okay, that we need to take into consideration. So, normally, this would be a presentation where I tell you the product portfolio and how you leverage it as a tool, okay? I thought about something different because the buzz at the moment is AI, okay? You can't go anywhere without everything being AI. And this is no disrespect to CareStack at all. They obviously leverage it extremely well. Great company. When it comes to doing a presentation, normally we would sit down and we would think, okay, how are we going to write this out? I thought I would quiz AI as to how I present this to you, okay? And the question that I asked was at the bottom, okay? Well, it wasn't a question, it was more of an instruction, all right? So create me presentation notes on the advantages of technology usage in dentistry, but specific to the UK. And whilst you probably can't see everything that's on there, it's not particularly clear, we haven't got the time to see that it's not far wrong. I think we can identify with pretty much everything that's on there, and we should, okay? But if we take a small snippet and we look at the focus of product procurement, about how we leverage technology within practice, and we call out one small amount of it, okay, so clinician ergonomics, practical benefits of advanced equipment. How we would relate to this in product design, okay, and some of the dental units that we offer, are all these things that are on our website, okay? So we say about patient positioning. We say about clinical interaction, i.e. for dentists, for hygienists, whoever the clinician might be, the ergonomics for you, the features and benefits of the micromotors that you can use, the syringe position that you might have, suction, whatever it is, whether it's a knee brake, the upholstery, it's very technical in its approach where we look at the features, okay? But the interesting thing that if you look at what this is drawn out, so I've highlighted in bold here, so lightweight, better balanced handpieces, minimize wrist and shoulder fatigue. That doesn't say anything about the price. It doesn't say anything about the quality. That's quite human, considering the fact that this is AI that's been quizzed. Adjustable digital units and chairs support neutral posture and healthier movements. Again, that's quite human, considering the fact that this is generated from AI. The last one, better workflow design reduces unnecessary walking, bending and reaching. So far, there's not been anything about profitability from the product. It's all been about you as a user. And I would question that when you are looking at new products, okay, and this is in your personal life as well, okay, ask yourself, when did my own and my customers' comfort and well-being factor more in my purchasing decision than price and familiarity? Which is more likely when you get in touch with one of my colleagues at Bradgate or whoever else it might be that's a distributor of us, that the first thing that you thought was, is this going to improve my posture? Is this product going to help me carry on dentistry for the next 20, 30, 40 years? Or am I going to end up like the bloke from Planmeca who's got a knackered back and can barely stand for more than an hour? Okay? Because I know a lot of dentists And certainly after the age of 40, I think we've all heard dentist back, right? And that's through poor posture, it's because of the fact that you're hunched over. But we don't think about that when we're looking at purchasing decisions. Okay, so I would challenge you to ask yourself, the last time you purchased a piece of kit, was this at the forefront of your mind? And why? Okay. I know I tend to waffle on a bit about this, but it's fine. The reason is we don't look at maximizing the yield from technology. Okay, we buy a piece of kit because we consider it to be the right price, whatever that is. Okay, and we consider it the fact that, well, I've used one of those before, so I'm sure it'll be fine. Or I know someone that's got one, so that'll be fine. I don't really need to think about the features and benefits because it's just a tool. Okay, a key example for you is what's the yield of these features on a CBCT? Okay, the first thing that you would look at when you look at product features is what am I getting for it? And realistically, can I get the piece of data when it comes to CBCT out of the scanner? What else really matters? Okay, but on here I've said about freely selectable field of view. Bear that in mind. Okay, I've said about ultra low dose. Bear that in mind. Okay, so if we look at ultra low dose as an example, okay, does anybody know what DAP is? And it's not a dance move before anybody says it. Any ideas? It's all right if you get it wrong. I'm not going to chastise you for it. No, it's dose area product. Okay, it's a rudimentary measure of how much radiation comes out of tube head and goes essentially through the patient and goes to the sensor. It doesn't give effective dose, but what we can ascertain is the higher the number, probably the worse it is for the patient. Okay? So if we look what we put within our performance specs, why should you use ultra low dose? Well, if we carry on down as the milliamperes and the kV is decreasing, so too is the image quality. Okay, so to reduce the dose to a patient, we might not receive a diagnostic image. What we would promote is, with ultra low dose, that you can get more, probably the same, diagnostic information as a significantly higher scan, okay, for less. So bear that in mind for a second. I mentioned about CALM before. Okay, so CALM compensates for patient movement. Means that if you take a CBCT, patient moves, you don't have to take another one. Okay, we can reconstruct it and we can fix it, for want of a better description. So why is this relevant? Because we have a product demonstration. I come and show you this, and you go, brilliant, it's got CALM on it, wonderful. It doesn't really make any difference to you, okay, unless we change the way that we think about how we leverage technology. Okay, what's important about this? So I want you all to have a quick think about what's the cost to you as a business owner? What's the cost to the practice of not achieving the above? And it isn't necessarily always financial. Okay, so you talk about team morale, you talk about confidence. In this specific example, if you're not taking the CBCT as a clinician, but your dental nurse is tasked with it, or your TCO that is suitably trained to take it, if they don't select the right field of view that you've prescribed, and their confidence is knocked and they don't want to do it anymore, sure, you can dictate to them that they've got to, but it isn't going to go very well. Okay, so building confidence with your clinicians, with your team, I think being able to get the same region or the prescription that you have put forward for the CT scan and making sure that you capture it every time. You haven't got any retakes. So the cost for that is time, which is money. Okay, you haven't got to get the patient back in, you haven't got to get a nurse to go and take the scan again. But equally, from a patient standpoint, you're increasing their confidence as well. They're not going to be particularly happy if they have to keep coming back because we get it wrong. You look at the exposure from a marketing standpoint. I am not saying that products within your practice are the key differentiator between you and the practice down the road. But if you have freely marketable features to customers that you want to convert to patients, because customers and patients are two entirely different things, in my opinion, or at least from what I've found, and I'll explain in a moment. But If you have products in the practice that you can market features of, why wouldn't you? Every man and his dog has probably got a CBCT at the moment, okay? But if we can go to one practice where we know that we've got 100% success rate of hitting this, we know that our dose protocol is significantly lower, and customers are selective. Customers, i.e. patients, are knowledgeable. They use Google, Dr. Google, thanks for that, it's always great. The patient comes in, instantly they know everything that they want to have done or whatever, because they're already informed. So it might not seem like a big deal, but if you're explaining to customers on your marketing, on socials, within the practice, hey, we've just invested in a new piece of kit and it's for your benefit, and here's the reasons why. How often do we do that? Whenever you put out on social media, guess what? Pleased to announce, brand new practice, look at this, and you take a picture of the waiting room and it looks absolutely fantastic. And you very well may put, we can offer implants, we can offer endo, and look, we've got a CBCT on there, and it's a nice picture of a CT scanner, and the patient goes, great, I have no idea why that's a benefit to me. This stuff is free. It benefits the patient, it builds confidence. Okay, so why don't we do this? And the answer is quite straightforward, because we don't think to. So I said earlier about converting customers to patients, okay? What do we see when we see this? Okay, in its basic form, it's a chair, right? Yes, it goes up, down, backwards and forwards. Doesn't look clinical because it's a chair. Your customers see exactly the same thing here. This is non-threatening. This is just a normal chair where you can have a conversation with a clinical professional, okay? So the one at the bottom here is one of our dental units where it's got the delivery system on it, okay? But the delivery system is around the back. So the way that we are set up for this specific product is that you can design a surgery where, with a knee break, somebody comes in, is invited by you, and the delivery unit with all the scary stuff on it, the instruments, the tray that's already set out, is behind the unit, okay? So the patient walks in, they see your smiling face, and they sit down in a chair. It's non-threatening. So somebody mentioned earlier with regards to nervous patients, okay? All of a sudden, you're able to advertise that you can see nervous patients, okay? Because if you've got a non-threatening environment, your waiting room is absolutely fantastic, the decor throughout the practice, again, is top-notch, looks great, okay? Because we're proud of the way that we have set up this clinic with the workflow in mind, speaking to appropriate professionals, which Pat referenced earlier, which I absolutely agree with. You know, when you are looking at your builders, when you are looking at your equipment supply agents, you want people that are experienced because they can tell you what goes wrong if you don't have an appropriate workflow. If you're trying to put a product in a room that is too small, okay, what's the impact on that? Not only from a working standpoint for you, is it ergonomic? No, not really. Well, we need to move that wall over by a meter. Not too sure about that. Well, take the advice. Sorry, Karen.
So on the contrary, some clients
Yes?
might think that, oh, this guy doesn't even have all the equipment. So will I get the correct treatment, or because I'm not used to this kind of setup. So
Uh-huh.
it might work the other way around as well.
Absolutely. And that is a really good point on the basis that it's about what you want to achieve and doing the investigation.
Patient or people, how they perceive things.
Mhm.
I agree with some of the people might be nervous to see that. But majority maybe think, oh, this guy doesn't even have all the equipment, you know.
Okay.
So what will he treat me with, you know?
So if you know your patients in that respect and you've got the option, okay, and from your standpoint, this is the concern, that's not how you work, okay?
The thing is, right, I mean, this is very subconscious what we're talking about here. Patients will not going to tell me that I'm scared of your equipments or not scared of the equipment. And they might be scared one day and they might not be scared next day because it changes as well, you know.
I agree.
What they're scared of. So it's very, I think, up in the air. But I see your point. For some patients, it can be beneficial. It might be better if we can hide it or unhide it, if you make it that
Yeah.
version of it. So
Absolutely, and this is one example, okay? But what I love about this is the fact that you're taking into account the patient in that respect. And it might not be this. It may be a different approach. And that's the whole point of this, right? Is to think differently. It's not just about the product and the fact that I can have 5 outlets on it or I can have a bottle. Exactly the point, okay? The key thing, though, that we are all talking about today, and I'm a firm believer of this, is that if you stagnate in business, you die, okay? It's as simple as that. If the market around you, if the industry around you is continuing to push forward, is adopting new strategies, is taking into account your patients' wants, needs, etc., and you're not going anywhere. Yeah?
Sorry, just one
It's all right.
came
Karen?
to my mind. I mean, that chair might work with the kids. If you're seeing a lot of children,
Yeah?
in those setup, that surgery will do well where kids can't see the instruments.
Yeah. No, perfect. You know, again, this is from our standpoint. So there's been a slight change. I'll just digress ever so slightly. The reason why this presentation changed is because 15 years ago, okay, if we were at a dental exhibition, and how many of you, by show of hands, use digital radiography for your intraorals? Has anybody here got a Velipex? I notice everybody's decidedly silent on that. In fact, some of you probably are going, what the hell is a Velipex? Yes, I'm that old, it's fine. 15 years ago, funnily enough, I used to work with Ali at the bank, and she'll probably back me up on this. You would be at an exhibition, okay? And you would be talking about digital radiography, and a product demo for an intraoral developer would take about 2 hours. That's me explaining to you guys how it works, how the software works, and having to convince you about the technology, okay? You fast forward to now. Product demonstrations generally take 15, 20 minutes, maybe even 25, okay? The rest of the appointment tends to be, how do I leverage this? How do I use it in my business? How do I capitalize on it? How can I make sure that it's suitable for my patients? It's more about the business side. And I think that that's something that we need to focus on, but we've started, we need to extend that. So certainly when we're looking at not stagnating within business, by moving forward, we have to look at the flexibility, not for just today, not just for tomorrow, for 5 years, for 10 years. And we have to break those norms, okay? If you are, and we do it in our day-to-day lives, I do it. You know, when it comes to, I'm gonna get a new phone. I'm an Apple man through and through, that's it. My wife got a Samsung recently, and I was like, I'm gonna hate this. I have no interest, I'm glad you've got it. I was a bit concerned because I generally have a hand-me-downs. So I'm thinking, great, I'm actually gonna have to buy a new phone. Gotta be honest, first time in a long time that I've looked at Samsung, and it wasn't that bad compared to my needs. I was very, very sad to admit it. Now, does that mean that when the phone contracts are up that I'm gonna have a phone? Hell no. I am definitely gonna stick with iPhone, right? But that is something that I am informed about and I've chosen to investigate. So, a little bit on the product and what we talk about flexibility of the software, you know, making sure that we have got platforms that are consolidated. Again, back when I was on the tools, 15 years ago, you would go into a practice and you'd load up, you'd be installing something new, and there'd be about 12 different icons for different things. What's that one for? It's my intraoral camera. What's that one for? It's for intraoral radiography. What's that one for? It's for my OPG. It's for my SLR camera. Whatever it might be, it was all different. So what we focus on as a group company and as a technology provider is the flexibility of different modules that you can upgrade to, okay? The same as pretty much any other software provider. But this is something that we need to look at, because what's the benefit of having all our patient imagery in one software that we can bring up their intraoral x-rays, we can bring up some SLRs and their OPG in one screen and then demonstrate to the patient, here's the reason why I would like for you to trust us with your care and your treatment. The fact that I can do that in 5 seconds instead of taking 30 seconds or a minute arranging windows all over the place, or I may not even bother. It would be, I'm going to give you the absolute base minimum, but if I'm giving the base minimum information to a customer, what do I expect with regards to patient uptake? for treatments and conversions, okay? Having the data open, being able to transfer out of the software into another package if we want it. So having links with, lab providers, your practice management software, etc. Links with artificial intelligence. And there's a key thing I think to note on this is the way that artificial intelligence or AI is leveraged within product development, okay? You feed it enough information, it tells you how you should program. So development becomes quicker. We're doing a big push on this at the moment, as are a lot of other providers, and they should be, because it increases and it enhances your ability to communicate with the patient quickly and effectively. So, sorry, go on.
So is it quite easy to send the images to the patient if they radiographs, photographs?
Potentially dependent on the system.
In your system?
Yeah, you just literally select it, click export, and it's gone. But let's take that a step further, okay? There's no charge to export data out of our system, okay? It's straightforward and it's simple. You select the data types that you want to. You can select whether you want to send it with a free image viewer. So if you wanted to give, I suppose, the DICOM, so you've taken a CBCT, to that patient, you can give them a free viewer. But most people do that. Why don't we look at what happens after that and how you provide that to the patient as well? So the process is simple. We've discussed this because we've had a sales demonstration. You've decided you want to buy it. Great.
Like, what does it mean to the patient? What are they going to do with it?
Perfect. And how do we provide that and package it up? Because I can tell you now, for the sake of a couple of pounds and having a USB stick with your company logo on it, your practice logo, in a nice little presentation box, we do it as Planmeca, okay? Whenever we provide you with scans, if you come and take some, we'll give you a little nice cardboard presentation box with a Planmeca USB stick in it, and it costs nothing, okay? But the value to a patient for your brand that you're reinforcing again and again and again by your choice of equipment, the information you're going to show them, and their buy-in, this is where we talk about converting customers to patients. Okay, a customer is price conscious, they've got freedom of choice, they can go anywhere. You've got a lot of competition within dentistry, let's be honest. It's not getting easier, is it? Okay? But the difference between a customer and a patient is only one thing. A patient has some form of loyalty to you and will at least give you first refusal. Your job is to try and convert that customer to your practice to become a patient. Okay, and up until that point, they can go anywhere. They still can when they're a patient, but arguably, it's that buy-in and that loyalty that we're looking for. Sorry, go on.
Is there a way to look at that presentation which the patient will see, or how do we use it? Do we use it on a telly or in the practice, or
Yeah. So this is where you consult with a trusted provider, all right? And you look at your workflow within the practice. How does that look? So when you go and collect the patient from the waiting room, okay, as a clinician, you bring them in, you seat them down, you've got your free intraoral scanner, okay, and you show that. How do you want to consult with a patient? Is it that you've got a big TV on the wall that you can sit next to them and talk with them about it? Is it that you've got a monitor on the chair, which I have to say I wouldn't recommend. A big TV on the wall is usually better. It's really up to you.
I was thinking step before that.
Okay.
The patient is walking in,
Yep.
sitting in the seating room,
Mm-hmm.
while waiting to be seen.
Yep.
At that time, maybe just play something on the telly there, just to reinforce that, okay, this is what we are using, this is how we are different.
Excellent.
So you pre-prepare the patient before they even come and see you, so you
Yep.
don't have to do a lot of lift and shift. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're using all the stuff you said, you know.
And that's exactly the point, though, isn't it? What we're talking about at the moment is if you're using all that stuff that I've just said, okay, and it has marketable features, what's the cost to put that into a waiting room as to why we have invested in your care? I mean, I would be the worst practice owner ever because every single piece of kit within that practice would have a post-it note on it. And it would say the value of, do you know, I just spent 10 grand on this, and here's the reason why, okay? You can do that in a less archaic kind of way, more subtle, exactly like you said.
The reason I'm
Mm-hmm.
I work for a company called Baxter Dickinson.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know that.
Unfortunately not.
They are the biggest manufacturer of medical technology in the world.
Okie dokie.
So you should research.
That's
So I'm working on a merger at the moment. I'm
Yeah.
working on certain products they're developing. So
Mhm.
you must have had injections in your life. So they are the
Mhm.
biggest manufacturer who makes those injection interventional equipment and stuff like that.
Fantastic.
So I'm working on the product they're making for the ICUs.
Okay.
And stuff. So I'm just trying thinking like how we can actually help the patient and help the practice owner, or by leveraging all the technologies which.
I'm more than happy to have a conversation about this, but I can assure you that unless you've got a couple of hours free, I will bore you to tears with it. But I'm more than happy, as I say, to arrange something with you. Because I can't overstate it enough, is that my passion is this, okay? As part of my job role, I am an account manager, okay? If you look at my business card, it says territory manager. But the clinical applications training, so when somebody sells a piece of our kit and I go in and I train somebody how to use it, that's something that I enjoy, okay? I really enjoy. I'm not saying that managing these fine people I don't, but the clinical side of it is, and the same as the business, okay? Because if we make sure that the business is secure and that you're having a good time with our products, the chances are that you'll come back, okay? So when I say that we are a technology company, and I say that what we should be looking at as business owners, because we are business owners, okay? You are business owners, and dentistry has changed massively over the last 30 years. Dentistry was a cottage industry. Now it's a business, okay? And you should have the appropriate tools to be able to manage that business. You know, the product presentations that you've had before, and certainly systems and processes. But again, when we're looking at procuring new equipment, do we consider the things that make other people's lives easier? Okay, so if you've got your practice manager, if you've got a business manager, we're not just looking at how do I sit at the unit, am I going to be secure for another 20, 30 years of working here? Because don't forget, when you have your purchase, it's going to be for a number of years. You don't just buy a dental unit and 5 years later or every year you're going to be changing it. This is a long-term investment. Okay, so having business insights about how you're utilizing the products, something that's got a connected workflow that can feed back and tell the distributor, can tell the manufacturer how the product is performing. You can drill down into our business systems and see how long a treatment's taking. Okay, and as a quick example, if it's a case that somebody is taking half an hour to do crowns, somebody else is taking an hour every single time, it very well may be that that clinician has got all the difficult patients. It might not be, and it might be something that you need to assess from a performance standpoint. But without the data and being able to drill into that and check, exactly as the previous presentation, how can you do that? So checking what the connectivity and checking how the products purchase is going to support your business moving forward. Because again, I keep saying the same thing, is it's not just for tomorrow. It's for much, much longer than that. So building those systems and processes and products procurement that supports that is important. I am not blind to the fact that the UK market is very price conscious, okay? And we get this all the time. And I do it, you know, in going and buying whatever it might be. A car, I suppose, is probably a good example. I want to know what the bottom line is. But then I get talking to the salesperson, and would you like heated seats? Yes, I very much like heated seats, but the car was 50 grand and now it's 52,500 because it has to come as part of a pack. So that might be a bit of an issue. Yeah, but it's going to cost you 10 quid a month extra. All right then, I think I'll have it. Okay, because I know it benefits me. We don't tend to do that within dentistry with large capital equipment purchases. So on the screen at the moment is a difference between a product that costs 25 grand, 30 grand and 35. Okay? If you look at the figures between the cheapest and the most expensive, it's just over £200 a month. Now, over a 5-year hire purchase agreement, and once that's paid off, I would argue that if you can't afford £200 a month extra for a particular product that you can market, that is going to benefit you, that is going to provide longevity within the practice, then you probably shouldn't be looking at the purchase in the first place. We get fixated on the baseline price of this. And there are always going to be certain scenarios where it becomes unobtainable, it becomes unaffordable, okay? But let's look at the fact that the savings now may pale into insignificance based on the earnings that we get in the future, okay? Because of the fact that I'm not crippled because I'm hunched over something that wasn't particularly ergonomic, but I tell you what, saved myself $5,000 earlier. It's the same thing across the board. And when we started this presentation, I said that I wanted you to remember the entire equipment portfolio, okay? Because I'm giving quite specific examples with regards to dental chairs, CBCT, but whatever it is, whatever you're buying, it's still the same principle. So we go back to this first question, okay? The big questions, make them bigger, not just for today, but for tomorrow. It's a very quick overview. It doesn't encompass every single thought that we're all going to have about this, but I would encourage you to change the way that you approach your equipment purchase. You look at the length of time for your business, the future potential, expandability, upgradability, etc. Okay, and consult with companies that know what they're doing. They can guide you. Okay, along with us, we can support, but I want to thank you for your time. I'll be available if you want to discuss this further. I'm fully aware I have a boring monotone voice, so thank you for staying awake. And I'll pass you back to Bobby. All right.